Thank you for joining us at Harland Clarke's Card Chat. Today we'll be talking about the technical side of instant issuance. Let's talk a little bit more about the IT department and operations department. If I'm a member of one of those departments and I'm looking at instant issue, I'm thinking to myself, I've already got a project list that I can't get to. Instant issue is just going to be one more thing on there. I've got options, software for purchase, software as a service. How do those two options weigh upon my decision as an IT department on whether instant issue is something I want to implement or not?
Well, if you're going to leave it up to the IT team, they're going to look at software as a purchase and see that I have to build a new server, I have to build a new firewall, I have to build an HSM, I have to process data, I have to put connections to all the branches. That's a big IT project. It could be 6 months alone just to do that project. But if I put on my software as a service hat and I look at it from an IT perspective, all I have to do is give someone an IP address. That's a no-brainer for me.
A lot less work.
Yes.
A lot less work. So you're talking about software as a purchase, server, hardware, software, all this. How does all this work together?
That's a great question. As a financial institution, you get to figure out how it all works together. It's true.
That's all right.
Yeah, good luck.
I mean, to actually think that you could give someone a piece of equipment, give them some instructions, and they're going to create an HSM and do data processing and feed that over in a normal banking environment. I mean, think of a community bank or an independent bank that their IT person is also the head cashier and the president of the financial institution, and I see it. You know, there's no way that they're going to be able to figure out how to make that work. And that's where software as a service comes in. And it's definitely the trend in IT today to be able to offer something that is easy to operate, easy to install, has all the updates included, because honestly, if you buy something, I mean, I have an Apple Watch. It asks me to update the Apple Watch every day. If I had to pay for every one of those upgrades, I'd be broke. I wouldn't want to use it. So
once the software for purchase solution is set up, and I'll ask you about the setup times in just a moment, that's not it. There's additional work that I have to do?
Yes. So every time that an upgrade comes out to the system, you're responsible for doing that upgrade and paying for the upgrade. And here's the real kicker, is if you've done any sort of customization to work with your core, to work with your teller screens, you're responsible for doing the testing and the implementation to make sure that works, because it's their software and their upgrade and you did the customizations afterwards. So say they do 2 annual upgrades a year, it's 2 times the fees, 2 times the work to keep doing instant issuance.
All right, before you start spending my money and start taking away my IT resources, how long does it take me to implement this type of software for purchase solution?
I mean, Tony can talk about it, but I've seen typical implementations of 12 to 24 months.
12 to 24 months. I mean, if you're doing it yourself, I mean, you know, Docia keeps talking about all the things that you're having to handle, right, that are already handled on the service side. And you're looking at 1 to 2 years. I mean, it took us a significant amount of years to get to this point, right, just to have this solution in place. So we've done it all actually at our level, and so really you're reducing down the time frame to weeks versus potentially years when you consider it. You know, not to mention, just to add on to that, just the EMV sort of mindset and the ability to learn that entire product, right? What's needed, all the certifications that are behind the scenes, all the different things that you've got to test and validate. As a service, we're doing that behind the scenes as well as new upgrades happen, right? So we're taking care of that as well.
Sure. So let's talk about this then, right? So you've done a very nice job of setting up software for purchase, what that means both internally as well as costs. You have resource constraints, you've got pretty big financial investment for the software itself. But we're talking a little bit about the software as a service. This is Card at Once, created by CPI, also sold by Harland Clarke. Talk to me a little bit about how software as a service works.
Well, software as a service is plug and play. So you buy a PlayStation, it comes to you, you plug it in, it works. Card at Once works the same way. We do some questions and answers with you to get card types set up. Then we ship you a machine and you plug it into the wall, you plug it into the internet connection, and you start printing cards. That's the whole idea. Easy to install, easy to operate.
But surely there must be some IT and operations involvement. And what is it?
Okay. So if I peel back the curtain, the guy behind the window, don't look behind the window. So you need your IT team to get an IP address that will be static and usable by that machine. So once you have that, and it needs to be able to go back and forth through your firewall, that's the IT involvement. Then the next part of the involvement is whoever's in charge of your card program to have a conversation with us about how you personalize your cards. So just how you do card personalization today, we're going to ask you the same type of questions. If you're already a customer of CPI, we don't even need to ask you the questions. We use the same profile that you have set up for central issuance in instant issuance, and it makes the process that much easier. So I'm really not trying to hide anything. It really is as simple as an IP address.
All right. Updates to the software as a solution. How do those occur?
Yeah, so I talked earlier about updates and the testing happening behind the scenes. As new upgrades, new firmware upgrades, maybe changes to the overall profiles, et cetera, the capabilities, we're constantly working with with our teams internally, our IT teams, to test and release new updates. As long as your printer is connected to the internet and is connected to our network, you'll receive those updates after they've been tested and released internally. So we're validating all of that before releasing those firmware upgrades to the machines, those software updates, et cetera, to be able to continue on without really even having to make any changes to your process.
What does the IT department have to do with these upgrades? What's their involvement as we're pushing software updates?
Well, really there isn't much involvement. Yeah, I mean, as long as you're connected, like Docia talked about, as long as you're connected to our network and you're connected into our back-end systems during the setup process, we'll take care of the rest.
Connectivity. It's got to be important for any type of instant issue program.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Describe the differences between software for purchase monitoring of connectivity and software as a service monitoring.
Well, sort of like in the implementation stage, software as a purchase, you get to monitor it. You need to check all those connections and make sure that you're getting good connectivity between your server that you own, your HSM, and all of the branches that you have connected, and ensuring that that connectivity works. With software as a service, we actually have a monitoring center. It kind of looks like a aircraft control center. We have this big monitor on the screen. It's got the whole country up there, and it has all these little pins all over the map of the world, or I wish it was the world, map of the US. So and these pins say a couple of different things. It tells me whether your printer is on and receiving connectivity, and we ping it constantly to make sure that it's working. It'll give me a different color pin if your machine is there installed, ready to go, but for some reason it's not connected. And then we have another pin color for items that are pending, meaning that you're in process, could be in shipment, so we can tell at any point in time what's going on. And then we see the network traffic. We can see the network traffic in and out of our HSM, our host system, and what we do is we make sure that our traffic at all times in and out maintains a reliability so that all the transactions take less than 90 seconds. We have failover servers, failover IT connections, failover T1 lines, but all of that is monitored for you, and we do it 24/7, 365.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the monitoring service alone is worth it, right? Because you've got somebody behind the scenes taking care of making sure that uptime is always there. And we strive for 100%. Certainly that's the goal. But maintaining uptime is absolutely important, and we take care of that.
Well, and it seems as you're describing these two programs, software for purchase versus software services, where do you want the responsibility to lie? Do you need it to be at the financial institution and have control over all these pieces, or do you want someone else to handle this and make sure that the monitoring and the updates and the software and everything that handles?
It's really a decision for the financial institution. What business are you in? What capabilities do you have? If you do want that complete control over that process, then software as a purchase is going to be the better option for you. But if you don't have the resources, or you prefer to focus on your core business of being a financial institution, then software as a service is probably a pretty good option for you.
Let's bring it back to EMV. Suppose I have an instant issue solution that's in my branches, but is not EMV ready. What are some things I need to consider to update that solution?
So a printer may not be EMV capable because of when you purchased it, right? So at the time I was focused on getting a magstripe implementation done, and that was it, right? And EMV wasn't really on my radar. Really, one of the things you have to consider with the printer itself is asking, is this printer actually EMV capable? If it's not, we can take the printer back in a controlled format, and we can actually retrofit that printer to be EMV capable. It's a very easy process for us. We can turn that shipment around very quickly without interrupting your business, and that's really a process that you need to think about. Now, if you've really been in the last year upgrading to EMV and received Card@Once printers in the past year, for example, we've been shipping EMV ready terminals that are ready to go for that. But you may have to check with us to see if the printer is actually capable, and we can tell you that. All right, you don't need to have that memorized by any means. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and then you also have the software as a purchase solution. So you might have purchased something when these first came out. None of the other providers out there have been shipping EMV ready terminals for instant issuance. All of their items have been shipped as in a magstripe environment. So CPI has been unique in the fact that we've shipped all of our machines, except for the first 100 that Tony was talking about, that are EMV ready. So in the other environment, you need to ask, what do I need to do to upgrade to EMV? And in most cases, you're going to have to update your HSM because you've got to do some cryptogram decoding and recoding. You've got new keys, you've got an IT project, and then you've also going to have the purchase price of new equipment that will be EMV ready. So it actually might be a great time for you to decide again, is software as a purchase good for me, or is software as a service a better use of the bank's resources?
And again, in the back-end systems, we've taken care of all of that, all the stuff that's complicated, right? The HSM equipment, all the security measures, the encryption standards, all those things are taken care of. It's really just a matter of retrofitting that equipment if it's needed. But as Docia said, we've been shipping EMV-ready terminals for a while now, and it's just a matter of making that upgrade to our systems to get you ready.
So you're talking a lot about the hardware and the equipment and the upgrading to that for EMV, but there's obviously a software upgrade that also needs to happen. The card needs to be encoded, the chip on the card. Same type of similar updating process on any type of software?
Absolutely, simple as a download, right?
Just that
simple
easy.
As a download, being connected to the network and being ready to handle that changeover is really what we work with you on to make sure that you're up to date.
And I think there's two key words. It's automatic and it's free.
Those are key words.
Those are
To
great.
anybody.
Free.
Those are great
To
Well, they
anybody.
say there's no such thing as a free lunch, but
There is free upgrade.
there is free upgrades.
You just have to pay for lunch. All right. So the chip itself then, what allows the machine to encode the chip?
Well, it's really very similar to the terminal that we see in the merchants, right? So, really the terminal itself, the upgrade that takes place is really giving the ability for the actual mechanical component inside the printer to come down and contact the chip, program the chip, okay, and then pass it to the next step. So really, it's not a huge change. It's a very, very minor component, but really being able to come in contact with that chip, make connection, and then move it to the next stage. So, it's a very, very minor upgrade when it comes down to it. The software is really what the big change is.
Okay,
Yep.
interesting.
The hardest part of the whole process is the EMV data creation itself that goes onto the card. And in software as a service, that's all taken care of for you.
All right. Final thoughts on instant issuance?
If you're a financial institution, why aren't you doing instant issuance?
I agree.
And furthermore, why not global?
Now, why not globally? What do you mean by that?
Well, actually, instant issuance is a U.S. phenomenon, but we've just now started shipping instant issuance machines to Latin America and South America. The only restriction that we have is there is a connected website that is only offered in English. So as long as that's okay, and right now, actually, the banking standard is English, there's no changes. Imagine being on vacation in Bermuda and being able to get a replacement card for your lost card. That would be cool.
It would be cool. So imagine that. Here we are. U.S. is last to migrate to the EMV solution, but we're first in migrating instant issuance and trying to bring it global.
We always have to have our tag on something, don't we?
That's right.
It's all about communication.
It is. You're right. Well, thank you both for your time today. Excellent information.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Greg. Thank you for having us.
That concludes today's topic. Thank you for joining us. If you want more information, please go to harlandclarke.com or contact your Harland Clarke account executive.